While many genres have been misconstrued and misinterpreted over the years, none have seen such an alteration and change in meaning than what was once proudly called the genre of emo. While in a modern context, it brings to mind hair-dyed teens with wardrobes full of similar yet non-conformist clothing, along with annoyingly whiny and cliche singers, less than 30 years ago, it represented one of the most fierce and meaningful and outright intense forms of musical expression ever. The fact of the matter is, the term emo originally described a very specific offshoot of the hardcore scene in the early 1980s. You can easily see Husker Du's amazing Zen Arcade record as one of the main catalysts for this movement, as they quickly proved that intimate, more meaningful lyrics could easily meld with the intensity and power of hardcore music. Yet, one of the first and easily most important emo bands of all time came out of Washington, D.C., and they were called Rites of Spring. To this day, their self-titled debut still stands as the high watermark, and they remain the definitive act of the emo genre. While many people would also cite Fugazi as an important emo band, the fact of the matter is, Fugazi made music like nobody else, and they stand in a genre all their own. The original idea behind emo music was to harness the energy, the spirit of hardcore and punk rock music, and give their lyrics far more depth, with many songs having lyrics that were far more akin to free verse poetry than any sort of structured style. In many ways, you can see emo music as hardcore and punk music minus the macho posturing. And for this reason, it was able to quickly gain a much wider audience, but at the same time remain an underground sound. At the same time, much of the lyrical content was able to mirror the punk hardcore roots that it came from, as there's an underlying sentiment or belief that commercially released music can't really capture intimate thoughts, and you can see this in the artificial emotions and feelings you hear all throughout pop music. At the same time, this often causes emo music to be a little bit over the top in terms of lyrics and overall emotion, as the bands that properly deploy the sound let the music go where it will, and it can often result in music that truly sweeps away the listener. Strangely enough, a majority of true emo bands didn't last very long, and this may be due to the fact that the music itself is so intense that it burns out very quickly. The reality is, in modern times, the term emo is far more closely associated with a certain image or aspect of society than an actual musical sound or approach. But the fact remains that while a majority of bands given the label emo don't quite fit the model, there are still a handful of bands taking the sound and style from groups like Rites of Spring and continuing to represent the true meaning of emo music. So while the current incarnation of bands that are labeled as emo may lead people astray as to the true beauty and power within the original style of music, the fact remains that without the rise of emo in the early 1980s, you can easily make the case that the rebirth of punk-rooted pop songs in the 1990s never would have happened. So to those who are quick to write off emo as some silly style or trend, go back to its roots, check out Rites of Spring and other bands like that, and understand what emo music truly means.